trash the 2019 Monkey. Don't trash the 2019 Monkey. So the problem that I'm finding is during rough riding, this assembly comes apart. The headlight bezel will come apart from the bucket, and then the headlight will pop out and be flopping loose. I decided to go Grom shopping again, and for a while it was probably just going to get a new Grom, start from the ground up, and have a nice new bike, nice new platform to mod. That's always a good route to take if you have the money for it, because you're getting a new fresh Grom. But along the way, talking with a lot of people, friends at the dealership, and things being used at the dealership were enticing as well, but the prices of them are a little bit too high for used Groms at the dealer. It's just not worth it. So looking at that, all the factors involved, I decided to go used. So what I'm going to do is show you what I ended up with and why I ended up with it and what we're going to do with it. So pretty excited to show you this bike. I think I got a great deal on it, and let's show you a little bit more about it. This blaringly obvious thing you probably see on the Grom is this helmet carrying case, which we've not used, obviously, because we're doing crazier things with the bike, so really don't need this. I'm not sure what the original owner was doing, but he was clearly traveling a little bit with this bike, so we take that off, and then we're left with a what we like to call the pizza rack. So this is the mount for that box, and this pizza box definitely got to go because it's got several protrusions on it and studs here that just will tear your rear end up if you get that far on the bike, or if you have a mishap or something, or swing a leg up a little bit too high when you're going around the berm. So that's definitely going to go. The first thing that I noticed in the Facebook Marketplace ads was the Maxxis dual sport tires on the bike. So that was one thing that I definitely had planned for my Monkey. And then when I decided to get a Grom, I held out on installing them on the Monkey because I knew my Grom was probably going to be my go-to off-road bike. So with that, this bike, with it already being equipped with these Maxxis tires, was a nice bonus. It definitely wasn't the reason why I bought the bike, but it most certainly influenced my decision, as I didn't need to install the tires that I had already, which is it's a big time saver. So added bonus, definitely a cool thing, as these tires definitely rock on a Grom. We have them on our friend's Grom, and it's just a blast to ride around on our grass, supermoto track, and even some deep off-road stuff. You might have already noticed one little special sticker here on the fork. So this was my gotta have it moment with this bike. This bike was equipped with the full Ohlins package. So the original owner put on the Ohlins rear shock, and he did the internals, the Ohlins internals for the front forks. And this was a huge thing. This rear shock alone is $400 plus, and the front fork kit's $275. So with that, you're looking at probably closer to a $700 parts package that was on this bike already. And while the rear shock's easy to replace, the fork internals, that's a bit of a project. I researched that for the Monkey, and it's probably something I'm going to do to the Monkey after feeling how this bike rides. So biggest reason I bought this bike was because of these Ohlins shocks, and these things make a huge difference off-road. They really soften up the ride. They soak up the bumps. We have a supermoto track that we have. It's mostly grass, a little bit of dirt, big concrete driveway straightaway, and these shocks are just amazing on that track. I'm not taking supercross size jumps. However, we do get into some rough stuff, so these shocks were a huge benefit. And after switching from a stock shock equipped Grom to this Grom, it's one of those things where you say immediately, that's something I gotta have. So very cool. Big part of me buying this bike was because of these Ohlins shocks. Okay, so we're going up to the handlebars here, and you see there's a couple of additional items here. One being a op mid temperature gauge, digital temp gauge, and the other is the Innovate air fuel ratio gauge. So that alludes to this bike having something modded, something done to the engine, and I'm going to highlight to you what that is right now. So the reason why it has the electronics on the handlebars is because this bike was modded with the Koso 170 big bore kit and 4-valve race head, Koso 4-valve race head. Also comes with the Koso throttle body, a Chimera intake, and Kitaco side cover here with the oil spinning the flywheel type thing removed already. It comes, obviously you see there's a oil cooler, and all this is in support of this Koso 170 big bore kit. This thing is an absolute monster. I didn't realize how fast this bike was till I took it on a test ride, and it easily pulls the front wheel with no clutch pop in first gear, and it revs up. The mid-range and the high range on this bike is incredible. So it's pretty amazing little kit here, and after reading about it, I realized how much it was, and was pretty impressed that I only got this bike for $2,500. So I didn't mention that in the beginning because I wanted you to see some of these parts first. So this bike cost me $2,500. There is easily $2,500 worth of parts on this bike already. And granted, you know, it's cool when people mod stuff, but they usually trash it when they mod it. This previous owner did a pretty good job at mods, and he chose very tasteful mods, not just eBay stuff. So it definitely was a good purchase with the amount of upgrades it had on it. But how cool the Koso kit is, and how much powerful it is, I'm going to tell you why I'm going to take that race head off. And some people, including my friend, said, "You're nuts. Why would you take a Ferrari and turn it into a Fiat?" Well, a couple of reasons why. First reason is that this thing is pretty fast, and it essentially ruins the essence of the Grom, in my opinion. I don't want a sport bike. I don't want a sickly fast bike that just does wheelies and I can go 70 miles an hour, which in the grand scheme of things is, if you got to put a 4-valve race head on to go 70 miles an hour, then you should probably be looking at a faster bike if that's what you want to do. That's not what I want to do with this bike. So my decisions came after riding the bike for a little while, and off-road, it's just wicked fast. It'll spin the wheels. The essence of the Grom to me is to have a slow, fun, non-intimidating bike to just thrash around on. And this bike loses that essence with this kit on it. While it's fast and while it's cool and it sounds great, it's just taken away from what the Grom really is, in my opinion. I race Miatas that's my, I guess you could say, amateur professional hobby. We race Spec Miatas, and the reason the Miatas are so cool and what makes them a great race car is that they're not fast, but they handle great. They can take an extreme beating, and the most fun thing about the Miata is that you got to drive the hell out of that car to be fast in it. So that's kind of how I thought of the Grom. It's really kind of like a Miata. I mean, it's not a fast bike. It's kind of small. Most people are too big for them, and you'd probably consider it a beginner bike. But it's an amazing bike all around. And when you start pushing it and riding at 100%, it's very easy to do. It's easy to ride at 100%. So it's kind of like when you used to go to those go-kart tracks when you were a kid. and the go-karts were really too slow to get in trouble with. You couldn't really spin out. You're not gonna, go too fast to where you hurt yourself. It's kind of where I think the Grom is. That's the market it fills. It's a great bike that you can just tell anybody to jump on and have a go at it. Great learner bike. Trying to get my wife interested in riding, so a Grom is something that she would hop on and say, yeah, sure, let me try it and give it a go. And who cares if you stall it? It's not going to do a power wheelie because you've dropped the hammer down too fast. It's not that fast, 55 mile an hour top out OEM, or 60 miles an hour if you put a gear on it, whatever. That's not scary. So when you start doing mods like this and you start putting 4-valve race heads on, the bikes get a lot faster and they lose a little bit of that essence, and to me they lose a little bit of that fun. Also, we square our Groms off against each other. We have a supermoto track, we have a mini motocross track in my backyard, and we have more of a hare scrambles type track over at my parents' place, and we race each other on those tracks. So when I have a Grom that's double the horsepower of my friend's Grom, it's just not fun. I mean, I can pass him in the straightaways. We have to stagger our starts so I don't blow him away at a start and he can't catch up. So at the end of the day, it's just it's a cool thing, but it's just that to me. It's a cool thing. It's not really needed in my opinion, and what I'm looking for in a bike. And in my opinion, if you're looking to go 70-80 miles an hour with a fully modded Grom, then you should probably step up to something else. Go get yourself a sport bike or a Suzuki SV or something that'll do that speed easily and then some. Hell, I had a Suzuki DRZ 400 that would go 80 miles an hour, and that was basically a dirt bike. So I got rid of it because I don't really care about going 80 miles an hour. I want to go have fun and push a bike that's too small for me and not fast enough to 100%. Pushing the DRZ to 100%, you're going to get over your head sometimes even. So this Koso 4-valve head, super cool, very, very fast for a Grom in Grom standards. However, I am going to definitely take it off and revert it back to the stock head, and probably keep the big bore on with the stock head and see how that works out. And if that doesn't work out, then we'll go back to the stock bore even. So the other thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning was when I bought this bike for $2,500, it came with all these hooked up parts. This thing was not a fully built bike, but it's about as fully built as I would probably go with a bike. And the thing that I didn't mention, that is the other reason why I bought the bike, is the owner gave me every single stock part that he took off of it with the sale. So that means everything from the exhaust, the original cylinder head, the original seat, even the old ugly tailpiece, fender, headlight, everything. So this bike can be reverted back to stock form with all those parts that I got. So that's where I'm going to go with this Koso head. It's going to come off, and I'm going to put the stock head back on it, and then we're going to try to make this bike dulled down a little bit, as surprising as that is to most people, but hopefully my explanations of why make sense. If not, we'll do some videos and show you just how much faster this bike is than a regular Grom, and why that wouldn't be fun for what we're doing.